Alright, we're moving on now to our focus this morning. Today is, of course, the first payday since demonetization. It will be a big litmus test for the Modi government. Nearly 200 million employees will be waiting to withdraw their money from banks that are already facing quite a bit of a cash crunch. India Today's correspondents tell you how banks are now gearing up for the big day. Take a look at this report.
More than a fortnight after Prime Minister Modi's big demonetization move comes the biggest test. The first day of the month when scores of Indians will get their salaries. As payday panic looms, banks are preparing for cash rush.
Take a look at this. I'm standing outside the ICICI Bank in central Delhi right now, and it says cash out, hence no withdrawal today. And this is the same situation that is across most banks in the national capital. The situation seems very grim.
बैंक वालों ने बोला कि जो है कैश तो खत्म हो गया है, अब या तो जो आप चले जाइए। फिर हम लोगों ने रिक्वेस्ट की कि आप जो है थोड़ा बहुत तो अरेंज कीजिए, क्योंकि जो है काफ़ी देर से जो है लाइन में लगे हैं, सुबह से लाइन में लगे हुए हैं।
पहले जब हम लोग का सरकारी नौकरी है, हमारा एटीएम से सैलरी उठा लेता है, लेकिन एटीएम से भी 2000 रुपया का नोट निकालता है, इसीलिए नहीं चलता है।
So will it be Mayday or payday? Preempting cash chaos, the government and the RBI have decided to pump up liquidity and announced a slew of measures to ensure that banks are well equipped to deal with the demand for cash.
To ease the payday pains, the government has instructed banks to open additional counters and also RBI minting press are working on 3 shifts. Even lunch breaks have been cut down on the 4 printing press. Choppers have been deployed to ensure that newly minted currency is transferred to ATMs and banks. The refilling is fastest in shortest possible time, and also more focus is on first applying the new notes to the banks and then refueling ATMs.
While private sector employees will have to queue up outside banks at the beginning of the month, the government has offered some relief to its own employees.
उनका समाधान हम लगातार समीक्षा बैठकों में कर रहे हैं। ये जो सैलरी वाला विषय आया, इसका कुछ अंश हमने पहले समाधान में निकाला। 10,000 रुपये हमने उनको कैश निकालने की छूट दी।
The different set of demonetization rules for government employees is bound to anger those who will be forced to wait for hours to withdraw their own money.
About what is going to be the fate of all these people who are queuing in line outside ATMs and will now suddenly find that the money has come to their account, but the branches are closed, they are not able to withdraw their money, they don't have cash. I think it's a great test for the government in the coming days.
With over 200 million employees waiting for their salaries, payday will be a big litmus test for the Modi government and its demonetization drive. With Devina Gupta, Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, it's the first payday since the demonetization of high-value currency notes, and the government as well as the RBI is gearing up big time for the higher withdrawals of cash. In a bid to reduce the cash crunch, all government presses are printing the new 500 rupee notes to meet the massive demand for cash expected till about December 7th. Additional 20 to 30% of money has been transferred to salary branches of banks. An adequate workforce is also being provided to deal with long queues, while the army choppers have been deployed to deliver currency in metros. Special focus is on providing money supply to the northeast region. Now, after the demonetization of 500 and 1000 rupee notes on November 8th, the government has made several flip-flops of changing cash norms almost every single week. The exchange limit of old currency notes has been revised 3 times after setting the initial limit at 4,000 rupees. It was later increased to 4,500 rupees and then once again brought down to 2,000 rupees. And now old notes can be exchanged only at RBI branches. The daily ATM withdrawal limit was capped at 2,000 rupees. 5 days later, this was brought up to 2,500. Similarly, the limit for withdrawal by cheque was capped at 20,000 rupees per week. Days later, this was brought up to 24,000, and now the limit is higher for those who deposit valid currency notes. While 2,50,000 withdrawal was allowed for marriages, farmers could withdraw up to 50,000 rupees per week. Old notes were exempted for select services till November 14th. On November 21st, the use of old notes was extended by 3 more days. Now, looking at the cash crunch faced by banks, India Inc. moots the idea of giving currency printing tender to international firms. Adi Godrej speaking to India Today's Karan Thapar on the possibility of really easing out the burden on the RBI by roping in the international agencies to print Indian currency new notes. Take a look at what he had to say.
What price are we going to end up paying? And the price we are paying currently is because there is a shortage of new bank notes in the market. If the government is able to fill up that shortage quickly, then I think the effect on the economy may not be very bad. But if it takes a long time, it will be bad. And I think what we need to do very quickly is to bring in currency notes from outside the country to ensure that there is adequate currency notes in India.
Well, with cash being the primary mode of transaction in the agriculture sector, farmers are among the worst affected by the demonetization drive. With no one really buying their produce, farmers are now resorting to feeding all of their produce to their cattle. Farmers in Nagpur as well as Akola claim that the business has gone down by nearly 70%. Take a look.
Maharashtra's Vidarbha region has long been the epicenter of farmer suicides. And this year, despite adequate rainfall, their sweet harvest has been turned sour due to demonetization. Panduram toils endlessly in his farm in Nagpur, but cannot buy seeds anymore as shopkeepers ask for change.
बंदा काम क्या कब तक करेंगे? दुकान वाले के पास जाओ तो वो बोलते चिल्लर ला. कहाँ से चिल्लर लाएंगे? बैंक में कहाँ है अपना अकाउंट? कुछ भी नहीं है. मजदूरी का काम मजदूरी करते और खाते.
Another farmer has been feeding all his produce to his cattle as traders refuse to give new currency in exchange for vegetables.
हमको तो इतनी हालत हो गई हमारी कि हमारे खेती का माल जब हम बेचने जाते तो उसको भाव नहीं मिलता. अभी तो गोभी मार्केट में कोई पूछता नहीं तो हमने तो जानवर को चराया.
The government's promise of doling out 25,000 rupees for farmers has had no impact here.
25,000 किया उसने वादा, लेकिन बैंक में कहाँ मिल रहे अभी? बैंक में तो मिल ही नहीं रहे. अभी आए नहीं बोले. अगले हफ्ते में देखूंगा ऐसा बोल रहे हैं. पैसे नहीं है बोल रहे हैं ना.
In Akola's Kothari village, farmer Datu returned home with a check of 23,000 rupees in exchange for sacks of soya. The check is of no use to him as it doesn't buy him food immediately. But traders say they have no cash to offer. Traders back home are asking Dattu for the money he owes them.
अभी मेरे घर को आने वाले जो लोग हैं, तोड़ने वाले, काम वाले हैं, सोंगने वाले हैं, मशीन वाले हैं, गाड़ी भाड़ा देना है, घर को कुछ लेके जाना है, राशन नहीं, तो मैंने क्या करना है?
Traders in Akola say the government's limit on withdrawal of money has reduced business by almost 70%.
नोटबंदी के बाद में व्यापार में जो एक ये होना चलन वो बहुत कम हो गई, क्योंकि कैसा है कि हर जगह पे नोट का प्रॉब्लम आ रहा. अगर किसान आता है तो हम उसको नोट दे नहीं सक रहे, और उसको होना पैसे की गरज है, वो माल लाता तो उसको पैसे नकदी होना, नकदी के सिवा जमता नहीं काम.
With farmers penniless and a drastic dip in trade, the situation in Vidarbha remains bleak. With Pankaj Khelkar in Akola and Koshal Pandey in Nagpur, Bureau Report, India Today.
And in another case study on the impact of demonetization, the love of fish in Bengal has definitely reduced in the wake of the note ban. And the worst affected possibly are the poor who run the fishing business in the region. India Today visited the North 24 Parganas district in West Bengal to take stock of the situation on the ground and found out that most of these fishermen's sales have plunged because of the cash crunch. Our correspondent Manogya Loiwal with this report.
These men are out to catch fish, but uncertainty looms for fishermen in West Bengal's 24 North Parganas. It is not the uncertainty about the catch, but the sale of fish that has become a cause of worry. Since Prime Minister's black money strike was implemented, the sales have sharply dwindled.
पैसा ज़्यादा नहीं उठा पा रहे, जैसे 25,000 रुपया वो हफ्ते में कर दिया, सब मिला के अभी लॉस हो रहा है बहुत.
As cash remains dried up, the fishermen are unable to pay, and lack of electronic transactions have rubbed salt on their wounds.
ये जो मछली का हम लोग का बहुत लॉस हो रहा है, क्योंकि हम लोग मछली खरीदते हैं तो 120 रुपया, यहाँ से मछली जाता है हम लोग को बाजार में 50 रुपये करके मिलता है, 60 रुपये करके मिलता है.
Believe it or not, most of these ponds are owned by the leaders of the ruling front, and at a time most of them are not ready to confess that they are of course running into huge losses. But the reality is that there is more to it than what meets the eye. Not just about incurring losses, but also not falling into the system.
The condition of the potato farmers isn't any better. Pushanta Pal, a local farmer, is in utter distress. All he has is high-value scrap notes, and he has seeds to buy as the sowing season approaches. Most farmers have halted cultivation after the demonetization drive. The agrarian community is incurring huge losses as no change is at their disposal.
পুরাতন তো নোট আলু বীজে আলু মালিক নিচ্ছে না, আমাদেরকে ধানের যে মহাজন ধান কিনছে তারা পুরাতন টাকায় পেমেন্ট করে দিচ্ছে, আর বীজ মালিক তো শুনছে না, বলে নতুন টাকা নিয়ে এসো, নতুন টাকা অত টাকা আমি কোথায় পাবো?
As sales dip and cash dips even more each day, farmers and fishermen continue to bear the brunt of black money strike. With Manogya Loiwal in North 24 Parganas, Bureau Report, India Today.
And in Uttar Pradesh, the carpet industry's woes are mounting after the Prime Minister's demonetization drive. Their sales have plummeted. India Today's Rajdeep Sardesai gets you this reality check from UP's Bhadohi.
Okay, we've come to Gopiganj, which is in Bhadohi district, and this is, remember, the home of the carpet industry. Crores of rupees are made by exporting carpets across the world in Bhadohi and Mirzapur. I want to find out how these small weavers who actually prepare the dhaga or the thread for the carpets actually work. Namaskar साहब, कितना नुकसान हुआ है ये सब जो पैसे के बदलाव से कुछ नुकसान हुआ है या ठीक ठाक काम चल रहा है?
सर नुकसान बहुत, सब परेशानी आ गई है सर यहाँ पे। पैसे नहीं बदल पा रहे, मजदूरों को मजदूरी नहीं मिल पा रहे, बैंक में जाकर लाइन लगाना पड़ रहा है।
कि अमीरों का भी काला धन पकड़ा जाए, सब
काला धन पकड़ा जाए
और उनको जेल भेजा जाए।
जी सर, जी सर।
तो फिर थोड़ी खुशी तो तसल्ली होगी।
जी सर, बहुत खुशी होगी,
बहुत खुशी होगी। तो अगर मोदी जी काले धन वालों को जेल में डाल दे तो आपको खुशी होगी।
जी सब।
तो फिर आप मोदी जी को कहेंगे कि हर हर मोदी तारीफ करेंगे। अच्छा ये बताओ, चुनाव में क्या होगा? अब चुनाव में ये मसला लोगों के सामने है या नहीं है?
बिल्कुल है सर, बिल्कुल है। ये 500 का और 900 नोट नहीं चलेंगे तो मसला तो रहेगा ही।
तो आप किसको देंगे इस बार?
उनको तो वोट नहीं देंगे सर।
मोदी जी को नहीं देंगे?
मोदी को वोट नहीं देंगे, उन्हीं की वजह से काम खराब हो गया।
तो आप लगे हुए हैं, कारपेट बना रहे हैं, दिहाड़ी है, कैसे बनते हैं ये? कितना दिन का कितना मिलता है आपको?
हमको एक दिन का जो है 150-200 मिल जाता है।
एक दिन का 150-200 रुपए देते हैं। अब ये जो सरकार ने नए नियम बनाए उससे कुछ नुकसान हुआ आपको?
हाँ, उससे तो बहुत काफी नुकसान हुआ।
क्या होता है
सर? काम धाम भी डाउन हो गया, जो जिसके पास जो पैसे हैं वो बदली नहीं हो रहा, उसका कोई काम ही नहीं हो रहा है। अगर हम नोट भजाने जा रहे हैं तो हमारा जो 200-150 इधर बन रहा है वो भी जा रहा है।